my name is Kat, and today I'm sharing my spring reading plans. So, it is now spring, or so I've been told. Haven't left my apartment in like 2 weeks, so can't say for sure. But it looks spring-like out the window, and I guess that means it's time for me to make some quarterly reading plans. And we're gonna be doing this video in 3 parts. Part 1, BOOKSPLOSION. For those of you who don't know, BOOKSPLOSION is an online book club that I've been doing with Christine and Jesse since 2014. And our April 2020 book of the month is The June Boys by Court Stevens. And we're working with the publisher HarperCollins on this one. This is a standalone thriller about a serial kidnapper known as the Gemini Thief. And the Gemini Thief's MO is to kidnap 3 boys and hold them for 13 months, from June 1st to June 30th of the following year. After 13 months, the boys are released unharmed. Except for this year. Something has changed and one of the boys turns up dead. Our main character is a girl named Thea, whose cousin has presumably just been taken by the Gemini Thief. And as Thea starts to investigate and get herself tangled into the mysteries of the Gemini Thief, her suspicions start to turn to an unlikely person. Her own father. So yeah, this sounds super interesting. I'm already so intrigued by the mystery of like why the Gemini Thief is kidnapping these boys and holding them for 13 months. What's going on there? So yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one. And if any of you are interested in joining our read along this month, I'll put all of the BOOKSPLOSION details down below. The next book that I have here is the BOOKSPLOSION Book of the Month pick for May, and that is We Are the Wildcats by Siobhan Vivian. And for this one, we're working with Simon & Schuster. This is another standalone novel. I believe this one is more of a suspense than a thriller, and it's one of those stories with a tight timeline, like it takes place over less than 24 hours. In this book, we are following 6 members of this field hockey team. It's the night before their first game of the season, and as per tradition, they have a sleepover the night before. It's kind of like a bonding activity. But as the night goes on and they start pulling these wild pranks and crazy stunts, more and more secrets start to surface. And the girls start to think that their coach might be manipulating them, and their relationship with their coach might be more toxic than they've realized. I tend to really enjoy books that take place over 24 hours, so I am definitely intrigued by this and very much looking forward to reading it. And yeah, if you're interested in joining us for this read along, then again, all of the BOOKSPLOSION details are down below. Moving on to part 2 of this video, Embracing the Reread. Over my many years of BookTube, I have found myself feeling kind of guilty when I reread books. Because like I have so many books I haven't read that I start to feel a little bad when I'm rereading favorites. However, my anxiety has just been lately, and I have found so much comfort in rereading favorite books. So I'm just embracing that. I'm planning to reread a bunch of favorites this spring because I want to, and I'm over feeling guilt for reading the books that I want to read. So first, Harry Potter. I started an audiobook reread at the beginning of the year, and I'm actually on Book 4, Goblet of Fire, right now. I used to consider Goblet of Fire my favorite of the series, but the last 2 times I've reread it, it's just dragged on forever, and I think it's now my least favorite in the series. I'll finish it eventually, hopefully, maybe. I mean, I tend to only listen for like 20 minutes a night when I'm trying to fall asleep, so maybe that's why it's taking me forever to get through Goblet of Fire. But I mean, it's a nice familiar comfort and it helps me fall asleep. So yeah, Harry Potter series, another audiobook reread, re-listen, whatever you want to call it. I also want to reread The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I wanted to read this before Chain of Gold, but that didn't happen. Now I've read Chain of Gold, and honestly, reading Chain of Gold only made me want to reread this even more. Like, I consider this one of my favorite trilogies of all time, and I've only read it once all the way through. So I need to do that again. Another favorite trilogy of all time that I need to reread is The Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. Now, I've actually read this first book several times, but the 3rd book in the trilogy, I think I've only read once, so I want to reread it. I might have to get the audiobooks for this, because I've reread the Strange the Dreamer duology several times because I also have those on audiobook. And I don't know, listening to audiobooks of my favorite books just brings me a lot of comfort and like chills out my anxiety. So that's what I want to do with my life right now. Also, Laini Taylor's writing is so beautiful, and like she's not coming out with a book this year that I know of, so I need my dose of Laini Taylor gorgeous writing. Gonna reread this bad boy. Next up is another favorite trilogy of all time that I need to reread. I didn't realize this favorite trilogy thing was a theme before I started filming, but apparently it is. I want to reread all my favorite trilogies. And that includes The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I cannot remember when I last read this trilogy. Like, no memories, head empty. Did I reread it a couple years ago, or did I just watch the movies? I don't remember, but I do know that I want the audiobooks this time. I want the ones that Tatiana reads. I don't know if there's multiple versions of The Hunger Games. I think there are. I want Tatiana Maslany to read this trilogy to me. So I'm gonna make that happen. I can make that happen. And so we move on to part 3 of this video, new releases. Now, there are a lot of books coming out in the next few months that look awesome. And I have somehow narrowed down my list of anticipated releases to a top 5 that I personally am just like particularly excited about. So let's run through these real quick. So first up is Bonds of Brass by Emily Skrutsky, and this comes out on April 7th. A while ago I saw some people on Twitter just like going off about how this book has big Finn Poe energy, and I had to pre-order it. Basically, it's about this hotshot pilot who finds out that his best friend is secretly the heir to this galactic empire that ruined his life. So now he's in this impossible position where he's like, the empire ruined my life, but also, this is my best friend who I might also be a little in love with. What do I do? I can't wait to find out! The next new release I'm excited for is Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender, and this comes out on May 5th. This is about a boy named Felix who really wants to fall in love, but because he's queer and black and transgender, he worries that it's gonna be hard for him to find his happily ever after. But then an anonymous student starts harassing Felix with transphobic messages, and Felix launches a plan to get revenge. But what he doesn't expect is that this catfishing scheme that he's launched somehow lands him in the middle of this kind of love triangle. From the synopsis, I kind of get the impression that this might be, kind of comparable to Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, and I'm here for it. The next book on my list here is Something to Talk About by Meryl Wilsoner, and this is out on May 26th. This is a debut romance about 2 women. One is a showrunner. She's like this Hollywood powerhouse, and the other is her assistant. They get photographed on the red carpet having like a little laughy, smiley moment, and the tabloids go wild with rumors that they are a couple. And as all the gossip and paparazzi attention starts to really affect their lives, they start to realize that the rumors of them being a couple might not be so outlandish after all. I am so here for more female rom-coms, so yeah, I cannot wait to read this. The next book I want to talk about is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, which is out on June 9th. This is a YA paranormal debut. I think it might be a standalone, which I'm very into. This is about a trans boy named Yadriel, who is determined to prove himself a real brujo, and in doing that, kind of prove his gender to his traditional family. So he does this ritual to summon a ghost, and he accidentally summons the wrong ghost. Instead of summoning his cousin's ghost, he accidentally summons the ghost of Julian, his school's resident bad boy. And Julian is not about to just move on quietly. He has loose ends to tie up, and he wants to figure out what happened to him, solve his murder. So Yadriel doesn't really have much of a choice. He agrees to help Julian because eventually Julian will move on, and that way Yadriel will get what he wants. But the more time the boys spend together, the less Yadriel wants Julian to leave. I love the trope of 2 people who end up kind of stuck together, and then they develop feelings. Very much enjoy that trope. So I am very excited to see how that all plays out here. And the final book I want to talk about today is I'll Be the One by Lila Lee, which is out on June 16th. This is a debut YA rom-com about a plus-size girl trying to make it in the K-pop world. This is about a girl named Sky who dreams of being the world's first plus-size K-pop star, so she enters this big televised competition to find like new K-pop talent. Sky ends up nailing her initial audition and she gets swept up into this world of practices and performances and reality TV drama. And she also has to navigate the highly fat-phobic beauty standards of the Korean entertainment industry without losing herself in the process. I am a huge K-pop fan, so I am really intrigued to read a rom-com book that is set in that world that also doesn't shy away from some of the more problematic aspects of the industry. Alright, there you have it. Those are my spring reading plans, and that is gonna do it for this video today. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will have another video up soon, so I will see you then. Bye!